All right, we are recording.
Excellent. Well, I'm JW Myers.
I'm Karl Brubaker.
And welcome to the Movie Brewdio Podcast with JW and Karl.
Yes.
We're two guys who believe it is possible to achieve a far superior level of coolness and quality of life while living in a small rural community in Western Maryland than it is living in an urban center like LA or New York, because the interwebs makes this possible.
So in this podcast, we talk about the things, the tools, the resources in our lives that make it possible for us to live at a superior level of coolness than more commercially supported urban centers.
You know what's really cool right now, Karl?
What's that?
There is music playing right now.
Yeah.
That I haven't recorded yet. Because I sat down yesterday to record like our theme song.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I got into my head. And I had a tune worked out.
Right.
And it was like a D minor to an A minor to an F, and it resolved in a C.
Yeah.
And I tried like every effect on GarageBand.
Right.
And it's like it's there, but and then after about an hour, I said it's just not quite there. Maybe I have no future as a musician.
Well, you have to put yourself in a box creatively. This is like
I'm a bumper music musician.
Yeah, you
that
gotta
is
focus.
all I can. That's all I can do. I can only manage 3 or 4 chords.
Right.
And the awesome effects I get in GarageBand. I've done some nice little title sequences for MCCA and for Acting Out for ALS and for the Movie Brewdio, but they're 3 chords.
Well,
this is my niche.
AC/DC has made a career of 3 chords.
3-chord rock anthems.
Yeah.
There's some nice guitar work on a lot of their songs.
Well, they said
Angus is good.
That was their response one time to someone who said, "You've just recorded the same album 10 times." And they're like, "No, that is not true. We've recorded the same album 15 times."
Yeah.
So, they don't care. As long as you buy the album, they don't care how many.
Absolutely.
Like what you actually think of it.
No, but Back in Black, and
Back
for
in Black's
those about
pretty
to
good.
rock, and even that like Thunderstruck and stuff. Like he finds cool little riffs that are fast. Did you ever see the Newgrass version of Thunderstruck?
Oh yeah.
That was really cool.
That's a very interesting parallel between heavy metal players and bluegrass players, and they say it's because they're like supremely white, and that if you play the blues, if you're a white musician, a black musician, any ethnicity, and you play the blues is more about feel, and it's more about whatever, and like white music is more about going and if I first heard that, and I thought, oh, that seems ridiculous, but then
is it any coincidence that you use the word supremely white like reversed? Because
right.
I mean, I unfortunately I don't like that accusation, because those are the kind of music. I mean, I like heavy metal, and I have an appreciation of bluegrass, recently developed since moving back to the area.
Bluegrass.
I like all the strings.
Bluegrass. I like bluegrass. It's not that I don't like it. It's that it sounds really repetitious to me. It's very similar. All the songs are very similar, and that just doesn't do anything for me. In the same way that the blues will do that to me, where I'll just listen to 3 or 4 blues songs and I go, okay, good, I'm good for a while.
Blues depresses me.
But it's I do that with Jimmy Buffett music, right? Where it's like it's the same. Now, if I want to hear a song about a guy getting high, eating a cheeseburger on a beach, Jimmy Buffett's my guy. I will not go any further than Jimmy Buffett. But the times that I need to hear that song, thin.
It's not my thing. I know 2 people. I mean, like 2 close friends. My cousin. Actually, my cousin. He is my cousin, Ricky.
Yeah.
And then Brian Alderton, that are just really, really into Buffett. Buffett never caught me.
No.
But Springsteen didn't catch me. Did we talk about Springsteen last week?
No, I don't
it
think
was
so.
it was a Facebook post about what's the worst Christmas song, and I can't stand Springsteen's "Santa Claus is Coming to Town."
Really?
But then it goes further for me. It's just not my I appreciate what this music is supposed to be to me. Yeah. But Springsteen ain't my thing.
There are songs I think that I'm much more of a Springsteen's one of those song artists for me more than anything. Like
explain, what's that mean?
So if you could put all of the songs that you really love on a greatest hits album, that's sort of a song artist to me. So, Electric Light Orchestra is
I'll take me some Jeff Lynne anytime.
But that's, to me, they're a song band. Like I really like the songs I like from ELO. I really like, but it's. I could put them all on a greatest hits album.
But yes.
Yeah.
But that greatest hits album
it's great.
Is 20, 25 or 30 songs long.
Oh, Telephone
and they are
Line
freaking awesome.
and Turn to
Mr.
Stone,
Blue Sky.
Mr. Blue Sky.
But even some Don't Bring Me Down.
Don't Bring Me Down.
The Xanadu stuff was not bad.
There's stuff that I really like. Styx is a band like that. Like
I'm still not over. One of my big things in life is so I used to work as a paper boy. And and as I was into metal music and movies in my teenage years. And so every Friday morning at 5:30 a.m., I would go to pick up my papers to deliver them, and I would turn to the movie section of the entertainment. This is all pre-internet, folks. This is when we didn't have an internet.
Right.
I would turn to the movie theater section where we only had the Frostburg Cinemas, and at that point we had the AMC 6 at the mall. So there were 9 theater options.
Right.
For months in my junior and senior year of high school, we're talking 1984, 1985. Let's go ahead and give away age. You do the math. I checked that faithfully every week for Styx's Mr. Roboto film. That never happened. It never happened. Well. Disappointment. And I vow that one day I am going to direct the God-blessed Styx musical, Mr. Roboto. Why is that funny?
I don't even know what to say.
It's just beautiful. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo.
Yeah.
Domo.
I would not go that far that it's beautiful, but
it's lost a little over time. I admit that.
I'm fine with it, except that they tried to do it on stage rather than playing. A concert, right? They got to the point where what's his name? The guy
Dennis DeYoung.
Yes. He, instead of just going out and playing the songs, right? Here's the songs from our new album.
He put on the whole getup.
It was like a show. They would have interludes where they would talk to each other. It was like a stage show, and people were like, "What is this?
How did someone not?"
I think it was finally in like Houston. Yeah. They were doing it someplace in Texas, and like halfway through, people started laughing, and then they just started screaming at him, and they were just like, "What am I doing?"
So this is the part I didn't know of why there was never a movie.
That's probably why
made.
Those scars run deep.
Yeah,
I have a feeling. Yeah, but those are like, and I understand to some people, Queen is that way, right? Like Queen's greatest hits. You throw Queen's greatest hits on an album, it's great. To me, I'm a huge Queen fan, so I can listen to any Queen album all the way through.
And
I love
News of the World.
News of the World, and Jazz is a great album.
Yeah.
And Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. And I like early Sheer Heart Attack is good, and Queen, the original, their first Queen album, and Queen 2 is good.
I even like those songs, those 80s songs, the Radio Gaga stuff.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Radio Gaga is like one of my favorite Queen songs. It might be my favorite Queen song.
The Works is a great album.
Yeah.
Like, it was the album that song came off of. And so it's that. What else is on that? I Want to Break Free is on
That's
that
what
album.
I Want to Break Free, yeah.
And I think one of the greatest, there's a song called It's a Hard Life, which is, I think, one of the most beautiful songs that Freddie ever wrote. And it's like this, it's talking basically about his sort of failed attempts at love and like relationships that fall apart. And it's just so beautiful. And I totally get it. Like, there are some people who go like, I like Queen, I like their greatest hits. I like Another One Bites the Dust. And you just go like, hey, that's cool. Like, for you, that's, there are only a few bands that I really cannot stand. And it's like, and this is probably going to, you may ask me to leave. The Grateful Dead does nothing for me.
Does nothing for me.
Pink Floyd.
I am going to have to ask you to leave.
Okay, I understand. I completely understand.
Grateful Dead, I understand. Pink Floyd, you're going to have to leave.
No.
Animals, one of the best albums ever made. Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, Final Cut. Not the post Waters. I'm a big Waters fan. Who finally did a podcast, but we'll get to that.
Mediocre at best. Mediocre at best.
I saw Roger Waters in concert.
Did you really?
Yes, on the Radio Chaos tour.
See, my friend
Jim Ladd.
My friend Jeff was trying to get me into Grateful Dead, and he was like, "Look, just go just listen to this song. I can't remember what song it was. Just listen to this one song. And if you still don't like the Grateful Dead, then I just don't know. And I listened to it, and like he pulled it up on his phone and plugged his headphones and like listened to it. I had to do it right then. And I listened to it, and I was just like, this is weak tea, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is.
I mean, there were like
he was like, this song means so much to me. It influenced and shaped who I am as a person, and I'm just like, throw it in the trash. Like,
a band called Tesla did a couple covers on their live album. They did Truckin'.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? They did Truckin' and something else, I feel like. And that kind of appreciate. And also the 80s songs, Touch of Grey.
Yeah,
and
I really like
when they
Touch
did
of
those.
And I like
Hell in a Bucket.
I like Truckin'. I like Uncle John's Band, Sugar Magnolia, Casey Jones.
You're naming like Truckin'. I've heard of
Touch of Grey.
Yeah.
Casey Jones is pretty good. It's driving that train.
Oh yeah, high on coke. Because I always like to hear songs about cocaine. I think that's because cocaine ruled so much of my life.
Finally, a song about me and my interests.
Finally, something I can relate to. No, that's a joke for the record. Just something I've never done or had a fascination for. Okay, so let's continue on because we don't want to make this a podcast about trashing the Grateful Dead because it's now we've at this point this is our first podcast.
I could absolutely fill. I could go.
If we have one person that's listening to this, if they were a Grateful Dead fan, now we've lost them.
Well,
we've already lost the one fan we had.
And again, this is an I statement. I don't like the Grateful Dead. Doesn't mean that other people can't, or that, and it doesn't mean that I don't recognize.
No,
that
listen.
Other people
when
do.
I say something, I expect the audience to follow, and so you need to go back. What I'm saying, but I don't want to dwell on the negatives. I'm saying you need to revisit the Styx album. Was it called Mr. Roboto? Don't Let It End. Whatever that album was called with Mr. Roboto. And
was that Kilroy's?
Tell me that I could. Kilroy was here.
Yeah.
Tell me that I can't make the best freaking rock opera musical of all time.
Okay.
And I will put Dennis DeYoung in that robot outfit, and nobody will know how old he is, and it is going to stun audience. It'll have the success of cop rock. That's the musical success of cop rock.
So we're truly setting a high goal.
Yeah, it's setting a high goal for the Movie Brewdio. Okay, so let's move on to so what's new on the web this week? What's new on the web? What games? What are you doing technology wise?
I tell you, what I've been looking at on the web. I don't know if you saw. You know who PewDiePie is?
Yes.
Okay, he's a YouTuber.
Makes $1 gazillion.
Right. Doing Let's Plays and things like that on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Well, he, I guess, last week was really upset about how YouTube is now, they've changed their algorithm to track how people watch videos. And he was like, I will delete my channel. I will delete my channel. I will delete all my content because he's upset about the way YouTube has done this. So they've gone from, I guess, counting views, right? So if you get somebody watches 10 seconds of your video, then that would count as a view.
Yeah.
Now they're counting minutes watched. So now you could have a million people click on it, watch it for 10 seconds, but you only get credit for the 10 seconds that people are actually engaged with the video. So now all these YouTubers who are in the upper echelon are really starting to go like, hey,
is this why my numbers tanked?
A lot of people are saying that they're seeing their viewership numbers go down and they're seeing their engagement numbers go down, and it's made a lot of people really angry with YouTube. And there's been this, it hasn't been a full scale revolt, but there are people who are saying now, when you look at what gets recommended, when you look at what ends up trending on YouTube, it's a lot of corporate content. So it's a lot of stuff from NBC and ABC and CBS,
sure.
And from all these other outlets that are now, sort of buying time on YouTube.
Well, they're going to have to,
Well, and it ties in with this idea of fake news, which. We kind of touched on fake news there.
That's the buzzword this week.
Fake news really drives me. I think the fake news thing is really because I do think people are more and more going to be going to online sources. And
I think we're already there.
Yeah, I mean, people are like my kids don't watch TV. They don't get their news from TV.
No.
They're watching stuff on YouTube. When I was on election night, I was at the radio station getting local returns.
Yeah, sure.
And I was in the studio, and I had the Young Turks live stream on my phone. I was watching their election night coverage.
Right.
I did not watch CNN or MSNBC or any of the major networks. I was watching the Young Turks. And more people, I think, are going in that direction. And that's what really concerns me about this idea of fake news, because who gets to determine what's fake and what's not? I mean, ultimately, who is going to be the arbiter of what is legitimate news?
Right.
And how do you determine that? And is this something where, does the government come out and say, look, if you didn't see it on NBC, it is not real news?
Well, I think we're already 10 miles down this road. I want to kind of steer clear of politics in a lot of ways, but I think we're down the road of there is no integrity in news reporting anymore. It's gone. We talked about the movie Broadcast News,
right? Yeah,
and how the huge breach of integrity was that he edited in him crying a tear.
Right.
This was 1983.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
And now it's like you say, I try to explain that to my students now, and they don't even understand what I'm talking about,
right?
Because we're so far
right
away from that. So I do think that where we ultimately get our information is going to come from online,
right?
But what do we decide is a credible source? What do we decide we all can trust?
Right. And again, like what restrictions are placed on that? Is
there are no restrictions placed on it. There aren't. And but then you're going to get into a whole issue of policing the internet, and that's the big taboo. We never want to police the internet.
Right.
Well, if we don't police the internet, then I can just say
anything.
Well, I am the second coming of the Messiah, and we should all worship JW. Let's all come, and that's
right. So and then So it's a very interesting topic to me. My concern is that that you can use this to stifle dissent. That you could take
what's
someone
being done right now.
Yeah, if you have someone who has a contrarian view, then you can simply say that's fake news.
Oh, that's this whole Russiagate. I have heard both extremes on Russiagate, and both of them sound completely compelling, make completely compelling cases for the far left and for the far right. I don't know what to believe.
Right,
about
I have no idea.
I don't know what to believe.
Yeah,
because if Russia, swayed the outcome of our election, that's a huge thing.
Right,
and we really need to address this legally next week at the Electoral College.
Right,
but this could all be a ploy from the left to swing. I can't discount that.
Right.
And so I don't know.
It's very,
and that's bad.
And that's the kind of bold stance that we're going to take
on
the Movie Brewdio podcast. No, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. There's and that's been my concern. But that's really where I've been. What I've been looking at online. I don't know about you. Have you seen anything? Have you come across anything fun?
I
feel like I'm the dystopian.
I am so excited about my new phone that I can actually surf the web online on my new used Samsung G6. I don't mind saying it.
Right.
I had an LG S4 for 20 months, paid it off, and it fried. And so did my $600 or so that I paid for that phone. Just went away when the screen fried. And I didn't like the phone anyway. And now, so Samsung, if you're listening, you sponsor the show, I'll continue to say nice things about you. Oh my God. But it's like now I got the web in my hand again.
Yeah.
And I was moving away from, we talked a little bit about letting go of digital technology.
Yeah,
I'm right back in now because now I got the daggone thing in my hand.
Because now you can actually
participate in it.
Planned obsolescence is the thing. Things built to fall apart so that you have to replace them.
I can't. I just can't even.
That's why I stick with my iPhone.
Yeah,
Steve Jobs.
I agree.
I'll pour one out for you, homie.
Okay, right. So what is new at the Movie Brewdio? You know what's new at the Movie Brewdio?
Tell me.
This podcast is new at the Movie Brewdio.
Yeah.
So Karl and I I have been wanting to do a podcast for years. I really have talked about it and have always been just torn on what I want to make a podcast about.
Right.
Do I want to make a podcast about movies? Do I want to make it about TV? Do I want to make it about my YouTube channel? Do I want to make it about beer? And it has been hard to settle in on a theme for a podcast, but I've always felt that I could do a compelling podcast. And a few months ago, I've known Karl for a few years now.
Yeah.
But we started meeting about the idea of doing a podcast. We quickly I realized that we had a podcast. I don't know where he's coming from on this, but I realized this is the guy I want to do a podcast with.
Right, yeah.
We have done 6 practice runs at doing a podcast, which are in our archives. Maybe one day, if this ever becomes popular, we will release our practice runs.
That's a terrifying comment. That's really...
We didn't say anything terrible. There were
you need to go back and listen to some of those.
Yeah.
I think before we were...
Okay.
Yeah, but no, it was good enough that we
Yeah.
felt, this is something that we can actually accomplish. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited about the concept of the Movie Brewdio. We've talked about, and you and I've talked about this, the idea of building an entertainment hub, making Frostburg, making Western Maryland an entertainment destination, and doing it independently.
It's the only way to do
organically. And I really think that's the kind of investment, especially in small towns and in small cities and in post-industrial cities. The impetus really has to be on pushing the arts and creating things locally and making that stuff for people to consume locally. Mm-hmm.
And we have such an amazing arts culture here.
Yeah.
We just, I'll get into that in a later topic, but we just had a local art studio here that I work with, MCCA, the Mountain City Center of the Arts, had their showcase weekend this past weekend.
Right.
And I'm blown away by the talent of these kids coming up. Yeah. And I mean, of course, we have some younger kids that are just starting now, and then every once in a while one goes up there and you're like, oh my God, this is a kid. Imagine what this is going to be. And then I've been with them a few years watching them come up through the ranks and watch some of these ones that started out as kids that are now teenagers or moving into their 20s going, oh my God, we're really building something here. These incredible things that show up on our TVs and our movie theaters and our stages and our concerts and all that kind of stuff. We have that. We're growing that kind of culture here.
Right.
And so as we create a media outlet for that, as we create web series, as we create feature films, I've directed a couple of feature films, and we have everything we need to do those right here.
Right.
So that's the whole concept of the Movie Brewdio.
Right.
And that's what we're really working at this year.
Yeah, and truly the idea that like we talk about in the open, the idea that everything that we need to produce this kind of content is right here, and you don't have to go anywhere else. That you can produce content locally, deliver it around the world, and really build a brand and build an identity as a media company without having any, without needing that huge architecture and infrastructure. Which is a really, really compelling idea to me. The idea of DIY, do it yourself, build it. I really, really love, and so it's what I'm really, really excited about. I think there's so many people who are looking for that creative outlet and are looking for entertainment that is built like that, that is developed with a local flair, that's developed with a very specific viewpoint and a specific
There's a lot of history here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting people here. There's a lot of interesting places here.
Right.
It always amazes me to unearth just the stories and the history and the people and all of the interesting things. So it's going to be a fun process.
Yeah, because I think when you look at something like the Gilmore Girls, just came back on Netflix for a limited engagement. And there are people who love the idea of Stars Hollow, of the town that the Gilmore Girls, and it's this really specific aesthetic, and that is that's Frostburg in a lot of ways. You know, that's like it's this really specific aesthetic that you can deliver from Western Maryland to everywhere else.
Yeah. Yep. Well, but that kind of leads into the next little topic that I want to get into. Of course, is what's new in the community,
right?
And I was leading into, we have this wonderful arts training facility here in Frostburg, led by the amazing Cody Warren Forno. It's a good friend of mine. I teach a television production class there, but it's really, there are some acting classes there, but it's mainly a dancing and singing and movement kind of place.
Right.
And they had a huge showcase this past weekend. My daughter was in several different, a couple of the showcases. She sang a song, and I thought she killed it. And a lot of good feedback on that.
Right.
And she was involved in some dancing and singing movement groups as well. And but it like there, nothing like this existed when I was growing up.
Right.
And the fact that these kids have this awesome outlet now, where they are trained by real professionals to a real professional standard, but the other great thing about Mountain City Center of the Arts is it is all done with such integrity, love, caring about these kids, a safe environment. They have a new building now on Mechanic Street. They moved out of the bank building. This is our first semester there, and can't say enough good things about that. This upcoming weekend, I don't know when we're actually going to get this podcast actually pushed out and on the air.
Right.
This upcoming weekend, they're doing a big Christmas show that has now become a Christmas tradition.
Awesome.
Their Christmas show last year, Jillian and I were in, and but it was astounding. I was like, this is a show you see in New York. Like, this is, how is this happening here in Western Maryland? Crazy awesome show.
Yeah.
And that's coming up this weekend.
Well,
so that's what's going on in the community for me.
And I think you're in Frostburg, I live in Cumberland, so our references are a little different. And I'm really excited about what's happening in it's been really a great holiday season, I think, in Cumberland. They did the tree lighting downtown on Baltimore Street, and they had we were out of town, but I saw someone had done one of the 360 panoramic views of downtown, and it was packed, just absolutely packed.
Yeah.
And they were saying somewhere there were like 4,000 people downtown and 2,000 people for the tree lighting, which is an amazing. I mean, in a city of 22,000 people, 4,000 people downtown. That is really, really astounding.
Yeah.
And we're seeing things like we had talked last week in one of the never to be published archive about,
I can't wait to...
about the Cumberland Film Society. This is a group that they did a screening of the Leonardo DiCaprio movie documentary After the Flood. There was a screening with a discussion afterwards, and that's something that has not existed. That has not existed in the time that I've been in Cumberland. But there are people who are stepping out now and saying, well, let's do these things.
Well, there are the Palace Theater here in Frostburg has a film club attached to it. Saturday night, they showed Star Wars.
Right.
Not the original. Well, it wasn't the original print. It was the.
It was they took Star Wars back to before George Lucas added all of the computer animated stuff in the late 90s, and then because he said that was his true vision for what Star Wars should be, and he pulled all of the old original prints of Star Wars.
They show. I already had a plan for that night. Unfortunately, it was a Christmas party that I had to go to.
Right.
But I wanted to take my Benjamin to see that.
Right.
And I had the in-laws in town as well. But I'm no cut on anything down there. But I heard about this from my chiropractor, who Mikey Harpold, who is a huge Star Wars fan. He told me that he'd heard about it. His daughter had seen it on the website. I went home. I saw it on the website. And I got very excited about it, but I hope that information about things like this get disseminated a little more widely in the future, because any advance, if I wouldn't have found out just that day, like I would have been planning for months to go see this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, I was actually working, so I was at the I was covering the state high school, the 1A state football game. Fort Hill Sentinels playing against the Havre de Grace Warriors, and Fort Hill won their 4th state title, their 4th 1A state title in a row, a 4-peat.
That is crazy how good they are.
And the really crazy thing is the Maryland playoff system for high school football is really interesting. Really, had you taken teams and ranked them by point spread and by strength of schedule and by opponent and wins, you would have had 4 teams conceivably in the top 6.
Wow.
4 teams from Western Maryland: Fort Hill, Allegheny, Boonesboro from Washington County, and Northern would probably have been number 6. So that, I mean, and it sounds probably to people who are going to hear this outside of our community, they may not understand what that actually means and how important high school football is.
Oh yeah,
but it's a huge feather in the hat. I mean, the TV broadcast was done by one of the Baltimore TV stations, and evidently at one point they had referred to Fort Hill as the Sentinels come from Cumberland, which is an economically depressed city in Washington County.
Well, at least they didn't blame Allegheny. They went ahead and blamed Washington County.
There's which again,
economically depressed there. Thank you. Thanks so much for that.
They just try so hard. We're so surprised they're wearing
the
shoes.
Little engine that could.
Yeah, exactly. But
love that view of us.
Really, it is when they go down and they represent for Western Maryland, it is an opportunity to show. We're still alive and kicking.
Something's coming out of this economically depressed area.
And really, those teams, Allegheny had a great season this season, and the rivalry between Fort Hill and Allegheny has really been one-sided, with Fort Hill winning the majority. But those programs, Mountain Ridge, their program is really coming back.
Absolutely.
It sounds like an odd thing, but I think it's high school football is a really important thing in communities like ours, where it is one of the few things that's left that still helps to bind the community together. We've talked about you and I have had those conversations about
sports,
the connective tissue, that holds a community together, and it's one of the few things that's left, sadly, in our community. And hopefully, it's one of those things that, as I would love to see the arts become one of those creative or one of those connective tissues that hold the community together.
Well, if we have anything to say about it, that's what it's going to be.
People know what's good for them. All right.
Okay, so most importantly, and always most importantly,
yes,
what's going on with the kids?
No, boy.
How's the wife? How's the kids?
Family's good. Family's good. Ethan, we're trying to get Ethan to sleep in his own bed, which is like just with our girls. The girls, from a very young age, you could put them in their own bed, and they slept in their own bed all night, and no problem. Ethan,
no,
it's an uphill battle, and so we've been trying different configuration. Like, okay, Ethan, do you want one of the dogs to sleep with you? We can put a dog in bed with you. And it's just everything that we're trying so far. We're coming up goose eggs. But Ethan has always been a kid that, like when he was potty training, just didn't want to. He wanted to use a diaper. Just didn't want to.
It's just more convenient.
I'm
wearing one. I'm wearing. We wouldn't have had that break in the podcast
had you been wearing your
had
diaper?
I been wearing a diaper.
And so then one day when we had run out of diapers, I was going to the store to get some, and he was like, "I need a diaper," and we said, "There aren't any more. There are no diapers left." And he said, "Oh, okay." And started using, and then it was just like that was it.
That's the best. Sorry, there's not anymore.
No, I'm sorry. There aren't any more
diapers. National supply.
I'm sorry.
But kids don't understand national supplies and stuff. It's like there are no more.
And he sort of considered it for a second, and he went, "Okay, well, I got to do what I got to do." So, he'll get there. He's the youngest of 5.
You're gonna have to go home and go, there is no couch. Or
there's nowhere else.
There's just
to
no
sleep.
room in the bed anymore.
Right? Yeah, I have to sleep in your bed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the youngest of 5, and the girls are his sisters are much older than him because we kind of started over, and so there's a little bit of being the little prince. But I think part of it is also, me and Tracy saying, well, he's the last one. This is...
Well, there's
you want to appreciate it while it's happening. Because then when he's 15, you're going to go like,
if he's still sleeping with you when you're 15, maybe that might be the time to kick him out.
It's time to call CPS.
But there is I don't know, there's a study, because we used to justify for a long time. Our kids definitely spent a long time in the same bed with us. And my wife and I are now, we're very sleeping on different floors, because she was sleeping with Jillian upstairs, and I'm downstairs with Benjamin down here. But yeah, that's his bed right there, and I built a bedroom for him.
Right.
Just a few months ago, Jillian went to finally sleeping in her own room, in her own bed, and because I built a bedroom for her up
right,
there.
Exactly.
So I think it happens at the pace it needs to happen.
Yeah.
There are some studies about children and security and feeling secure and feeling loved that basically don't freak out. I mean, I think it's don't freak out too much about it. It happens at the pace it needs to happen. They'll get the amount, as long as they're getting the security that they need, it's all good.
Yeah.
So
I hope so. And I think, Ethan struggles with anxiety about things anyway. And it would be okay if he wasn't such a miserable sleeper. Because he will not sleep.
Yeah.
Even as soon as he falls asleep, he starts generating about 20,000 BTUs of heat. So it's great. Like when it's cold, you almost want to say, "Don't you want to sleep?" Because it's like having a space heater in bed. But then he gets hot in the middle of the night and wants to kick all the covers off. And it's like, no, I want covers.
Right.
And I'm the adult. So
So how is your sleep? How would you?
It's not spectacular. It's not spectacular. It's just it's tough because there are times where you want to, like, you put Ethan in his bed, say goodnight, and then, if Tracy and I want to have a conversation, right, you have this window of like, okay, we've got 4 hours until he wakes up at midnight, and and then it's a struggle to get him back in his bed. So it's just that's difficult to try and maintain that, to try and have some personal time as a couple, to sit and like, let's bounce a checkbook. Let's just talk. Let's have an adult conversation.
I asked this. Someone asked. A cousin of mine was complaining about sleep online on a Facebook, and I commented, "Hey, I discovered something that I've been into for about 2 weeks now, and I discovered from Tim Ferriss's podcast, which is this 4 Sigmatic coffee. It's a mushroom coffee. They're mushrooms.
Okay.
It's lion's mane and another kind of mushroom. It's in like an instant coffee, and I started drinking it a week or two ago. There are tons of health benefits. I can't tell you here. I don't work for them.
Right.
But the side effect of all of it is better sleep. And I didn't even think about that until a couple nights in a row. I was like, wow, I just slept really well. Now, obviously, you can't drink a cup of coffee because it's a very stimulating coffee.
Right.
The coffee's in the morning, but at night I am really getting sound sleep right now.
Really? That's really interesting.
Now, it doesn't all come in coffee. Like, you can get it in different, it's the health supplement is the mushroom. But coffee is kind of the mix that's working for people.
And what is it called?
4 Sigmatic, 4 Sigmatic, FOUR, and then SIGMATIC, 4 Sigmatic. Tim, like I said, Tim Ferriss has been huge into it, and he's a big experimental dude that likes to do all kinds of cool things. We'll talk about him another time in a podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. But anyway, so that's an interesting little thing that has come up that has affected my life a little bit. So I invite people to. It's not free. So it's a moderately priced. What is it? I think they're doing multi-level. I don't think they're doing multi-level. They'll do that now, like they do the affiliates.
Oh yeah,
you can sell it. But I'm liking it enough that I might go. Maybe I could set up my own website.
And sell this.
This is pretty good.
Yeah, interesting. All right,
but I don't work for them yet.
Right.
So Okay, so segging into that, then what are you listening to this right now? What do you listen to this week? Music, podcasts, anything you want to talk? What are you listening to?
I've not been listening to much. The one show that I've actually been catching is this guy named I'm gonna blank on his name, Max Kaiser, who is, I don't even know how to describe who and what he is. He's not an economist. He's, I guess, like a financial advisor, maybe. He does this show with his ostensibly wife. I don't know, some woman, handler, parole officer. I don't know their relationship, but it's really interesting.
What format? You said you're watching it.
I'm watching it. So he has.
Is it a streaming?
He has episodes on. You can catch it on YouTube.
Okay.
And he's also on RT, which is the Russian television station. So it's really bizarre.
So you're part of the problem right now.
Right.
You're part of this Russian infiltration of our culture.
When people started talking about RT, and I thought, what is this? And so watching it, you go like, I don't. My interpretation of RT is that there is bias there. There is probably pro-Russia bias, but it doesn't seem to be any more overt than, say, Fox News's conservative bias or MSNBC's liberal bias.
Okay,
right? It's sort of filtering world events through that sort of Russian lens, which there was nothing overt. It wasn't sort of like, maybe I'm missing that part of RT where it's. Thank you, President Putin.
Are you really happy that now it has all this conspiracy stuff? Now it's infiltrated this podcast. Episode 1.
Look, just in case, just go with it.
Just go. Yeah, so everybody watch RT.
Right. Yes, good. Comrade. It's been a great week.
Comrade.
They're
great
listening.
Week.
They don't tip your hand.
Great week.
But anyway, this Max Kaiser he talks about sort of economic theory and but they talk about I was watching these episodes where they were at a biofuel plant in Pittsboro, North Carolina, and talking to the guy who'd started this biofuel plant and how it was real grassroots, ground level innovation, and they built this business from a very small local, it was all locally grown. And it was very interesting. They were talking about how you and I have had this conversation. We talked about quantitative easing in one of the Phantom episodes.
Yes.
Which I'm sure people will be clamoring to please release the quantitative easing.
Yes, excuse me. Can I get some quantitative easing? Because I've got this itch.
That's right. Quantitative easing. I've never even kissed a girl.
Yes.
Right? But part of the idea of the quantitative easing is that central banks are giving money to banks to get toxic assets off their books, and that the banks can take this money and lend it, and the banks aren't doing that. They're not lending this money. Yeah. Well, the idea is that now Wall Street investors and some of these investment banks are now excited about the idea that under a Trump presidency, they may be able to make better returns on their investment. So they may be willing to finally get off some of this money, which sounds really great, but the idea that they haven't spent any of this money is one of the few things that's keeping inflation down. Like, there's no inflation anywhere. Gotcha. So if all these banks suddenly go like, let's spend all the money that we've got, like, now you're putting trillions of dollars into the world, the global money supply. Yeah. So I saw that and I thought I'd never thought of it that way. It was very interesting. But he seems there's something, he has a very odd affect, Max Kaiser. So it's a very interesting program. I don't know. Like, he was on the Alex Jones program. I don't know if you know Alex Jones, Infowars.com.
Yeah.
Dude's crazy. Like, I don't want to, not to be, like, Alex Jones is way out there. So anyone who is on his show, I automatically kind of go, I don't know.
So,
like, Alex Jones is close to, like,
you'll watch
Alex,
did you watch any sports this week, Carl? Any sports going on?
I'm so far down the rabbit hole and stuff.
I don't know whether you're alt right, alt left.
No,
I'm not sure where this lies.
It's stuff that I find interesting. Yeah. I feel like the only way I can get a good grasp on things these days is honestly to watch. Just watch everything.
Okay, well
right?
that makes sense.
Okay, I got to watch Fox News and I got to watch NBC and then I got to watch and whoever they say I shouldn't watch, I got to right.
Nobody has to watch Fox News.
But it's like I have to watch all these things and then all the places they say don't listen to what they're saying. I have to go listen to what they're saying. Because then I can get all sides of the story, and then I can at least go.
But at least
what is
you
really
can
happening?
Formulate an argument or an opinion of your own when you have all the information.
Well, yeah, and I don't feel, I don't feel like anyone is providing the entire breadth of what is actually happening.
No,
because I think it's really scary what's actually like. Yeah.
Maybe it is, or maybe it's not.
Yeah, I think
it's not.
I
don't know.
I think some of the things that people don't want to talk about it are like. Mm-hmm. That certain elements of our society, certain elements of our government, and the system that we live in are broken, and they're and they need really systematic repair.
Well, here's the thing that gets me about this, and I don't want to go too far off on this tangent, but when we talk about things that are broken, it's kind of like, okay, when we talk about racism, when we talk about the KKK, when we talk about the Nazi extremists, when we talk about we talk about that like that is our entire culture.
Right.
And they are such a 0.000000001%.
Right.
And no offense, but that's it. They are, well, they're certainly significant when they do damage,
right.
But there are overwhelmingly more people that don't feel that way.
Right.
And that's. That's kind of what I feel like. Yes, there's a lot that's broken about our political system,
right.
But we're not even talking anymore about the 99% of our political system that does actually work.
Right. And
I have roads to drive on.
Right.
I have, when snow gets on the roads, they shovel it off the roads. And it's when also, a house catches on fire, someone shows up to put it out.
Someone puts it out.
There's a lot of stuff that works well.
And I think, and it's also the idea that. That as much as people talk about how things were so much better at some point in the far in the past, things we are on the whole safer.
Yeah.
Our communities are safer. Crime is down.
Absolutely.
Like we are living in this incredibly peaceful era comparatively. There's not. I mean, for all of the unrest around the world, there is not a global war which is encompassing. Vast swaths of people. So yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to keep perspective on some of that as well.
Well,
I'll watch more sports next week.
But next week, please watch some.
Yeah.
Just listen to something. I'm going to tell you what I was listening to.
Oh yeah.
Because
I've been watching Impractical Jokers. Have you seen Impractical Jokers?
No.
Impractical Jokers is four friends. They've been friends since grade school. And it's a hidden camera prank show where they prank each other. So it's So it's things like they'll pair off in teams of two, and they'll have to give a presentation to like investors.
Okay.
But their presentation is written and prepared by the other team, and they've never seen it, and so.
Seems like they're minimizing victimization.
Yeah, they really don't. It is based somewhat on people's reaction to them, but they're not humiliating people.
That is my big problem with prank shows. I don't like comedy with a victim.
Right.
And
they humiliate each other.
I don't like that.
Because
that's okay. Because they're all into that.
Yeah,
that's
and then
fine.
like there's a loser. Like they have different contests, and whoever loses the most has a punishment, and you can't refuse a punishment. So it'll be things like they made the one guy skydive. He's terrified of skydiving. Gotcha. They made the one guy he pretended to be a psychic, and they're like, "Don't worry, you've got an earpiece. We'll feed you information." And then when he gets out there, they don't give him any information, and he just has to
generally that's what I generally liked about Jackass. Is they were kicking each other in the nuts.
I loved Jackass when it was focused on being ridiculous with your friends.
One another.
Yes.
But there's where punked crossed into when you victimize other people. That is not funny. I'm sorry, not funny.
Yeah.
Not funny. I know they found a way to laugh it off at the end. didn't like that stuff. Okay, so I'm back to the basics. So because this is the first published one, right. I still think, for all intents and purposes, the best podcast is Radio Lab.
Yeah,
and I've just listened twice to a fantastic episode of Radio Lab about gamma rays and its effect on Alzheimer's. People that are suffering from Alzheimer's, and I have it's a fascinating episode. Just the best produced podcast out
really,
there,
really good,
because they really try.
Yeah,
it's like no offense, but you and I are going to sit and talk, and we'll put a little bumper music at the beginning and stuff. But you're essentially just going to get pretty much unedited conversation between Karl and I. These guys throw in sound effects, other interviews, editing. It's like a creative piece put together. That's why I just think they're miles above and beyond what anybody else is doing in the podcast world.
Yeah, do something really well, and it rises to the top. Yeah.
And the best interviewer is Marin.
Yeah.
And it's Mark Marin's WTF, and he has an interview with Dana Carvey that aired last Sunday. I think I mentioned it last week.
Yeah, I saw it, and I meant to. I wanted to listen to it, and I haven't had a chance yet.
Well, I was not a huge fan of I mean, I liked Carvey. He made me laugh and stuff, and I mean, it's been about 6 months ago, I think, that he was on The Nerdist, and I don't know, The Nerdist gets good guests and stuff, but I don't find it particularly funny.
I like The Nerdist if it's something that I'm really into,
But I don't think they're certainly not good interviewers. It's just
it's a conversation.
It's a conversation, but there's a lot of gags and stuff. Anyway, the interview with Carvey on Marin is so good, gets into great depth and really about what makes him tick. And it's just Mark Maron at his best, and really, really digs in there. So those are two things that really struck me this week, and I have been still listening to a lot of Joe Rogan again. Joe Rogan had Kevin Smith on.
Yeah.
And those two get into it.
Now, are you excited about? See, I can't. I just don't have that kind of. I don't have that kind of time to commit.
I know it's like hardcore history.
Yeah,
I love it. I just can't do 4.5 hours.
Yeah, it's just it's a little too long. Now, are you excited about the Star Wars movie?
Yes, I'm definitely excited about the Star Wars movie. I'm hearing good things, and but what's most important to me is my son is excited about the Star Wars movie.
See, Ethan has no interest really in Star Wars. And I think it would probably be a little intense for him.
Yeah.
Like we went and saw The Force Awakens last year when it came out. It was a little intense for him.
See, we made that a big event last year, and some of his friends from school, some friends that had graduated from the school and stuff. We all went. I think it was a Saturday afternoon or whatever. And it was just like a big, exciting thing. Yeah. And so I hope that we're able to do that again this year for Rogue One. So I like events.
I like doing that. And we went. The family was in town last Christmas, and so we went and saw it I think the day after Christmas. And Ethan went with his cousins, and it was okay, and he was putting on a brave face for them, but I think it was a little intense I don't know, because from
How
everything.
How old is Ethan now?
8.5.
Yeah.
That so it's sense. a little intense for him, and I think this seems like Rogue One seems like it's going to be a little darker, which I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about. Almost like
in the timeline, this happens between what we know as Part 3 and Part 4.
Correct.
And so this is during the rise of Vader, and rumor has it that Vader is a character in this.
Yeah, shows up. Yeah.
So.
And I think it's it almost seems like there's an element of the Dirty Dozen. Mm-hmm. It has that sort of feel.
Sweet.
Taking prisoners and ne'er-do-wells and sending them on this, what is essentially a suicide mission.
Nice.
Really kind of dark. I don't know if he'll go for that. Ethan loved. I think Ethan's favorite movie that we've seen in theaters in the last year was Zootopia, which is a great movie. Mm-hmm. But no one dies. No one. Nothing really bad happens. Like it's it all resolves itself nicely by the end of the movie, and it's really well done.
good stuff coming out for this. What is it? What's the singing? Is it Sing or
Sing? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, that's like Jillian's two things: small, cute animals and singing competitions.
Yeah.
She is so into the voice. We were just watching. We actually haven't revealed the winner yet. We're only partway through the episode. But yeah, it's like combining the things that she does, and she does with her little LPS figures. Like she'll do little singing competitions and stuff. So she could not be more excited about Sing.
I could totally see that.
Yeah,
and I think and not to get too far down the rabbit hole. Did you see the trailer for the new Spider-Man movie?
I didn't see the trailer. I've
man,
read the look. So we good?
It looks so good.
I can't wait.
I don't want to ruin it. I won't even ruin it for you because I want you to see it and take it in.
Yeah.
But the Tom Holland, the kid who plays Spider-Man, looks like a 15-year-old.
Well, that's what I liked about him in the last Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Is you got to see that contrast between the 40-something-year-old
Tobey Maguire,
superheroes and this teenage kid.
Yeah.
It really puts Spider-Man in perspective. I love that. So
and like the humor, the sense of humor is there.
Good.
The awkwardness and just they are not retelling his origin story, which I am so excited about.
Exactly.
I know.
Now, did he get bit by something? What was it? He got bit by a fly or something, right?
There was some incident.
That right? Yeah,
and instead of getting blood poisoning like everyone else would,
continue on.
Yeah. I don't need to see Batman's origin story. I don't need to see Spider-Man. No one does. Everyone understands how it happens at this point.
Are you sure? Because
I'm sure, but
I could punch that up.
But watch the trailer. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Yeah,
I definitely will. So. Speaking of technology, what did you do this week that's not related to technology?
Oh boy,
what did you do? A little walk in the park, a little
it has been hardcore, like house renovations.
Oh yeah,
because we've been polyurethaning floors and painting, and rearranging furniture and looking at replacing our living room suite. So I've been doing a lot of adulting. I've been adulting it up, just painting and. Like if only I'd updated my resume, I would have had the trifecta of reorganizing and shopping for adult. That's the thing. You as a kid, you think like being an adult is going to be so great, and there's so many elements of it that are the freedom to go and do and whatever. But then there's so many things that are like Tracy went to work today and said, hey, I think when I get off work today, we're going to go look at furniture. And I was just like, okay, we need new furniture. But there's just that, like, the little boy inside of me just goes, no, I don't want to look for furniture. I don't want to do, So then you have to go like, no, we're going to go look at furniture. We're going to go. Because I know she doesn't really. She wants new furniture, but she hates shopping. So I know she's not looking forward to it either. But that's really all. It's been just.
That was the non-technology related.
It has been non-technology related, and let's see, have I done anything else that is non-technology related that is not related to?
No, well,
that's pretty much it, I think.
Well,
sadly.
mine is strange this week too, in that there's just a lot of events this weekend.
Yeah.
On Friday night, we went. We got a babysitter, and we went to our friend Heather had her 40th birthday bash.
Oh yeah, okay.
At what's the place? The bar in Cumberland.
Mezzo's,
thank you. Yes, of course I knew
Mezzo's.
Mezzo's.
To meet on 7th
yes,
Street. Yeah.
but I'd never been to Mezzo's before. Except my wife, who didn't grow up here, has been to Mezzo's 100 times, and I've been there 0. And there's a band playing there called Butterscotch Blonde, which
they're great.
Heather had put there. Oh my God, they were fantastic. Yeah. The bar was really great. The environment was really great. It was such a, we talk a little about, well, there's nothing to do around here. No, there's a lot of things to do around here now.
Yeah.
That was a really hip happening adult night out,
which is nice. Well, I had
good beer.
That was one of the things we do trivia at Mezzo's Thursday nights. They have
sweet.
Miller Lite trivia night, and so we've got a little trivia team, and that was one thing that I did this week that was not technology related. And it's fun. We do it at Mezzo's, and it's a great place. It's get some Brew City fries and get there next time you go. Get the triple berry tart. It's this triple. It's like a pastry with some triple berry something filling in it, and a scoop of ice cream. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deal.
Really, really good.
I will definitely try that. And then Saturday night we went to Giuseppe's for a Christmas party for MC's, the aforementioned MCCA, Mountain City Center of the Arts. They, I'm one of the staff there, so they had a staff Christmas party.
Nice.
And had the upstairs room there, and of course, Mark Witt is the owner of Giuseppe's. His kids are former Beginnings kids, so but anyway, that's what little treasure we have in Frostburg. It's an amazing restaurant that really it's always awesome there. Every bit of the food was just fantastic, and then Friday night was a beer night. Saturday night was a really good wine, and that was that.
Nice.
So cool. That's what we did. So it wasn't a nature walk this week.
Not a nature walk.
Wasn't some time in the trees.
We have something. We have Montessori board meeting Sunday. So that's coming up.
But they have Wi-Fi there, so I think that'll be related to technology.
Somehow related to technology.
So what are you going to do this week to make your life better?
If I can finish my daggone floors, that will make my life so much better.
That's going to make your life a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's really the biggest thing has been just like getting the house done. Really getting the house done is more to make my wife feel better about, like, we've wanted to paint and we wanted to do floors and get new furniture and do that stuff for so long, and now you can almost see the finish line of getting floors done and getting all that stuff done, which is going to be a huge relief to her, and that I'm excited about her being happy that it's all done. I think that's the biggest thing. That's really the only thing on my mind at this point is like get house stuff done, because then you can focus on all the other stuff. Well,
I think for me, getting this podcast out, getting one that we're actually going to put up, and it's probably going to have 2 listeners at this point, you and I.
Right.
But the fact that it'll actually be out in the world, and then maybe next week, our wives will listen to it. Yeah. I don't know if my wife will ever listen to it. She doesn't. I'm trying to get her into podcasts.
I don't know if I don't know if Tracy will listen to it.
Okay, let's stop.
She might listen to. I don't know.
My wife will listen to it if it really catches on, and thousands of people are listening to it and telling her about it.
Right.
Then she'll be in.
Yeah,
and then she'll rework our whole format.
I'm trying to think. Would Tracy would probably listen to it if she had the time.
Yeah.
The time change kills her. So she gets home from work, we eat dinner, and by like 6:30, 7 o'clock, she's like, "Well, time for bed."
But how do you consume?
It's dark out.
How do you consume podcasts? Like, what do you listen to? You don't as much as I do.
I don't listen as much as you do, but like last week, I went home. Listened to the show that we did last week while I was polyurethaning floors.
I have really enjoyed listening to the shows that we do.
I went home.
This may just be for us.
I went. It's completely self-indulgent.
I love to listen to myself speak.
The self-indulgent podcast.
Yeah.
No, I went home.
We've got our title.
I went home and listened to it, and while I was doing stuff, I'll turn the volume up on my phone or put headphones in, and while I'm doing stuff, just as I'm going about my business.
See, I have different categories. Like there's Radio Lab. I have to I tried to put it on yesterday's background music. It was so compelling that I got to re-listen this morning, where I could really listen to this really affecting piece. But Rogan at 4 hours long with Kevin Smith. They're just riffing and talking about some crazy new restructuring the government ideas.
Right.
That's background.
Right.
And I don't have to pause it when I leave the room and stuff.
And that's what I'll do. Like with if I'm listening to, I usually don't catch the Young Turks, like they do a live stream every night. I usually don't catch that because I'm doing stuff, but the next day I will cue that up and listen to. If I'm not watching, I'll listen to the show. while I'm doing stuff, if I'm doing laundry, if I'm cleaning, or if I'm working on something and typing or whatever, I can have that as background.
I have stuff playing all the time, and then for a workout, like for a run, I'll put on something specific because I'll really listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when I need something that if I need to work and I need just a background sound. Something that is not going to something I don't need to actively listen to,
right?
But something that is still compelling. I will queue up Mystery Science Theater 3000 and leave it on in the background because I've watched those episodes so many times.
See, that's what I do that with Family Guy.
Yeah,
and I can kind of do it with Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And what's Fred Armisen's sketch show?
Portlandia?
Portlandia.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm loving Portlandia. Well, I've gotten through all the seasons of Portlandia.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of rewatching them.
Yeah.
So that's.
Have you seen
a documentary now?
Yeah.
Yes. It hit and miss.
Hit and miss.
No, we're not. But even their misses were kind of okay.
The miss. I think the misses. Like I have not seen all of them, but I was
Some
watching.
Of them hilarious.
I was watching the Grey Gardens riff.
Yes,
the two sisters or the mother and the daughter.
Yeah,
and it really you have to have at least a contextual knowledge of what that is.
Well, that's all. They talked about this on pop. What is it? Pop culture happy hour, and it is. It's like it's so good that you have to know something about documentary to understand how brilliant it is.
Right. Yeah.
But some of them, like the music one, that was kind of kind of very Eagles.
Yeah.
And you could take that, for what it is.
Yeah. Sort of that, like Spinal Tap had that feeling of it could be any generic rock band. But there's some that where you really have to know what they're referencing for it. Otherwise, it's just an odd character piece where you just go, why? I don't understand why they made those choices.
What an interesting Armisen. Oh, and Hader. I mean, I love Hader, but Armisen, who on Saturday Night Live, I could take or leave Fred Armisen. Yeah. And since then, actually, I heard a Marin interview with him where I really got deep into him. And then I started watching Portlandia, and I just think it's freaking brilliant. And the documentary now is brilliant, whether you like it or not.
Right.
And but then he hosted the season finale last year of Saturday Night Live, which to me really brought the show back.
Yeah.
There was some stuff on that show, some of the funniest of the Dead Poets Society parody.
Right.
I think I wet myself the first time I saw it. It might be the funniest thing that's ever been on that show.
And Saturday Night Live, they really, I think, found their. I think they go through this when they change when the cast changes over. It takes a while to
figure it out,
back into it. But I've seen some stuff when Tom Hanks hosted Halloween.
Yeah.
I thought was a great episode.
Well, Chappelle hosted right after the election when the country was just like what, and Chappelle kind of made it okay, I think.
Yeah. I liked Lin-Manuel Miranda's episode was really, really good.
That was before I get into Hamilton, and then of course now.
I mean, I was watching the Crucible cast party, which anyone who's ever done high school theater absolutely has been to that cast party.
Yeah, absolutely.
They know exactly. And again, it's such a specific reference.
Sure.
Because it's for people who were not in theater.
Yeah.
They go like, "Oh, that was funny," I guess. Yeah. For people who were in high school theater, it's like me. You're inside my head. It's just so funny.
But I think that's where you have to go, and in comedy, essentially everything's been done.
Yeah.
So you have to get that specific,
right?
In order for it to be funny now.
And with everything as fragmented and sort of atomized as it is, you have this really diverse. Viewership, or this diverse group of people that you can reach. So you don't have to be really broad. You don't have to be broad based. You can be really specific and just focus on theater geeks and hone in on that. And all those kids, I mean, all those people on Saturday Night Live were theater kids to some degree.
Sure.
Lin-Manuel Miranda was a theater kid.
Absolutely.
They can speak on it authentically, and that's the other thing. It is really, really authentic, and why it rings so true, and why it's just so funny.
I have to go, but I'm not actually specifically remembering the sketch. Now I have to go back and watch that. I think I still have him on my
It's
DVR.
one of the pre-recorded things where it's like after the Crucible, they have the Crucible cast party, and it's like the high school cast party where like the one girl's like, I really like this guy, and it's a song, and she's singing it, and it's like, so I'm just going to take his hat and then just kind of walk around. Yeah. And you're like, like everyone, like that. It's so true. Yeah. Like there was always that one person who's just like, I want to take your hat. And we're like, because there's so much like sexual frustration.
Yeah, sure.
And there's just no outlet for it.
Yep.
And it's so funny.
Oh,
just fantastic.
Gotta watch it. Yeah. Gotta watch that.
Yeah.
You know what I liked before that a lot was Key and Peele.
Key and Peele is one of my favorite.
Oh my God!
One of my favorite.
I felt like they were. I heard it said of Primus. A friend of mine said this about Primus one time. He said it's like this guy never heard somebody play guitar before.
Yeah.
To me it was like Key and Peele. You have a sketch, like everybody's done sketch. It's like they never watched anybody else do a sketch. Like I didn't feel like I ever saw a derivative sketch on that show.
And the way that I love sketch comedy where you can as the sketch goes on you can see the thought process.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see the initial, like the sketch starts and you see what the original pitch was. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, guys, this guy walks into a room. This is a funny idea, right?
This is a funny idea.
And then you can see how through the creative process there's a point where the sketch turns and they go like, and then this happens, and everyone in the writing room laughs and they go, okay, that's in.
That's it.
Right? And then it goes in this direction, and you just go like, and Key and Peele, they did that I think better than anyone. Like there's a sketch, and the production values. Yeah. It looks so good.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the advantage of not doing something live, where you can really shoot it nice.
They did there's the writing room, like they're pitching ideas for Gremlins 2.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
And Star Magic Jackson Jr. comes in. Hey y'all, I'm Star Magic Jackson Jr. I'm the Hollywood sequel doctor. The studio calls me and when they're about to drop a deuce, and he's going around and he's like, look, just as a brainstorming session, you all get to design your own gremlin. And they all go around and they're just throwing crazy gremlins out. And then
wasn't there like a subtitle like every one of these ideas actually ended up in the movie?
Yeah, he's like, none of that's going to end up in the movie. And it's like, all of that was in the movie. Yeah. And it's just like, and he's like, electricity gremlins. You said electricity gremlin. You just said and a word and a gremlin afterward. You're like a child. You have the brain of a child. And you know what? It's in the movie. Everything's in the movie. It's just so. Yep. And again, it's like it's a 3-minute sketch, but Star Magic Jackson Jr. is a complete character. Yeah. It's like and to see those guys, to see Jordan Peele just commit to a character. Yeah. No matter how ridiculous the character is. There's a sketch. Have you seen the one where the guy, it's like he's like the overweight nerd?
Yes, the pizza delivery.
And this is where he's making a music video.
Oh,
and as the music video goes on, they have like a running counter on the bottom that shows his budget running out. And so. Oh no! So he gets about 3/4 of the way through, and he hits 0, and then the last quarter of the video it's like Barbie dolls. It's just and it goes from like $10,000 to like $10, and then it's running down as he tries to, because it's like this epic. He's on a horse, and he's he's like fighting a dragon, and then the budget runs out, and it's like him. On like a fake horse, it's oh my God, and again, just brilliant.
I mean, my favorite sketch is the most obvious choice, which is Aaron, the substitute teacher.
The substitute teacher.
I mean, and that's far and away my favorite, but based on this strong character, with a different perspective. It's simple, a simple twist on unusual names.
I can't. We used to quote that at each other like constantly.
Present.
Timothy. Present. Thank you.
Thank you.
D nice.
Yep. But there's one thing I always talk to my students about in comedy is about that committing to a character.
Yes, absolutely.
Committing to a character, and I always go to the example of Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live with the cowbell sketch.
Right.
And the sketch is not a good sketch on paper. What works is Will Ferrell and Chris Walken committing to these characters at a 250% level.
Yeah.
And you just lose yourself in him, more cowbell man, and that, but my point was bringing it back to Key and Peele. That's what works about anything. Like, they're committing to that level to these characters, playing them well.
Yeah.
The comic timing's there, the character's there, the makeup's there, the costuming's there, the set is there,
right?
And then it's also a good sketch.
The way, I mean, it's so well written, it's so well edited, so well put together. Have you seen the where they're doing the like high school intervention, classroom intervention? And like they bring in a guy, and Jordan Peele's playing like this Latino character who's talking about like his life on the street.
Yes,
right. And everything's like, when I was 12, I joined a gang, and we were involved in stealing bikes, and then I smashed the window of a store, and then I got run over by a herd of buffalo. Consequences, right? And everything's consequences. I mean, and again, and just the interplay between the two. The teacher is just instantly goes, "Okay, this was a bad idea," and he keeps trying to push him out, and then he's like, "No. Okay, look, I'll tell a real story. When I was 15, I shot up my niece's quinceañera celebration, and then I got hit by a meteorite." Consequences. Like, no. Just it's so I think it's probably maybe the best sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Maybe the best sketch comedy. I don't know the best I've ever seen, because I think to me the best I've ever seen is probably The Kids in the Hall. Like, I love The Kids in the Hall.
At the time it took us in a new direction.
Yeah,
I actually say it's the best I ever saw. That's what I thought.
It's right up there.
And they stopped. And 5 seasons they were done. It broke my heart that they were done. But they knew they had just peaked, and season 5 was leveling off, and they were walked away.
Yeah. And I really, that's a trend that's happening more and more. Where
do just enough.
Do it until it's not good anymore, and then do it and leave at the height of your game. And it's that's a British idea, a British television idea. We have 2 seasons worth of ideas, so we're gonna do 2 seasons and then we're done.
Yeah, and then it's also like now we understand what the shelf life and ownership of product means now.
Yeah,
and it's like if it gets not so good for 5 more seasons. It lowers the value of the 5 seasons that are just spot on perfect.
Right.
So walk away. You've got this polished product that's awesome.
Well, and I think the whole the syndication, like the idea of syndication is completely different. It's not like, guys, we have to be
100 episodes.
Right. It's like
they drop
we have
at
to do
98, you're screwed.
Because then it's like we're not going to get big syndication deals. It's going to end up on second tier and lower rate channels, and it's going to bounce around in lower syndication. And now it's like, no, if you did 15 great episodes, they're going to be people who want to see those 15 great episodes.
Be awesome.
And it's I think it's so, and I think Netflix, the way Netflix does shows now, their original content.
Oh yeah.
Where they just go, look,
how many episodes do you need?
Right.
Do you need 6? Do you need 8? Do you need 10? You need 12?
Yeah. Stranger Things, where they're just like, it's 10 episodes.
It's 10 episodes.
And it's like, there you go. It's 10 episodes, and you tell the story, and then we'll go from there. Or Kimmy Schmidt's like 14 episodes in the first season or whatever. Yeah, I think I really,
which is another hilarious. We could go off on show the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Again, one of those things I laughed so hard at. And Network It was too much for Network, and that was like one of the first ones that Netflix came in and said, "Oh, we'll take that."
And again, talk about committing to a character. Titus Andromedon.
Oh my God!
Is like
and
the really, I think the beautiful thing about Kimmy Schmidt was that Titus was borderline caricature in the first season.
Sure.
And then in the second season, they round out that character.
Yeah.
They give him a legitimate love interest, and they develop that relationship. And it's just. And he's still.
He ends up with it was the construction worker.
The construction worker. I mean, just it's such a oh my God. I mean, it's a really really great show.
Well, we'll have to get more into this area because I'm going to talk more about comedy too, and I think that we should probably make it one of our talking points about what we find funny because I really want. I want this podcast to be a lot more on the upbeat, funny stuff, entertainment stuff.
Yes, I'll stop watching.
Stop watching Russian TV.
Monetary policy.
No, it's okay.
Right. It ends up what I end up like watching. Along like Ethan loves Impractical Jokers. He thinks Impractical Jokers is just, and so
I got to give this one a run.
He loves to watch Impractical Jokers. So
one of the things I do want to end the podcast on every week is, and I haven't thought about it this week for myself, but I call it Who Gets the Kindness Award this week? Who gets the Kindness Award this week?
That's a good question. If only because I've been holed up in my house. Pretty much all week, and so I haven't interacted with people. I think my wife probably gets the kindness award this week, because having the house pulled apart is really stressful for her. When we moved to Cumberland, we had two 26-foot U-Hauls, all our stuff. We moved in on a Sunday. Our house was unpacked and put together by Wednesday morning.
Wow.
Because she cannot take
that's what she does.
boxes everywhere. So, so it's been very stressful on her. But
sure it is,
but she's been a real trooper about it. And like, awesome. Hey, like she got home last night. We painted all weekend and did stuff. And last night she was like, no, we're just gonna sit and we're gonna talk and we're going to, So that was very nice. And God knows she has to put up with me. So she's a long.
She gets the kindness award.
She gets the kindness award for not punching me in the face on a regular basis.
We had a good discussion about that last week, and I'm sure those two individuals will come up again. The kindness award this week for me, I'm going to give to my daughter.
Oh,
but not just in a symbolic way. This week, it's Christmas season, and I told you we had the MCCA thing, and we knew we needed to get her teachers at MCCA little Christmas gifts. And Jillian likes to sit down and make little cards anyway. And I was just like, you know what? Let's get Miss Cody and Miss Shelby. Why don't you sit down and make them something?
Yeah.
Rather than going out and getting it's nice to get a little gift card or something in it. I said, why don't you sit down and make? So she took the time and she made Christmas ornaments for them with like a really positive. I wish I had it in front of me. She found that Tess helped her find a nice, positive, kind quote about the specialness of a teacher. She wrote that on the Christmas ball, and then we have a laminator, so we laminated it and stuff so they could put it on their tree.
Nice.
And Jillian probably took 2 or 3 hours of her creative time to do that.
Yeah.
And I think I teach too, and I think about the things that I've gotten over the years. And
sure,
like I said, it's nice to get a gift card to your favorite restaurant, but the students that have taken the time to actually do something like that, or something that are still sticking on my office walls, or hanging on my tree.
I think, I think the stuff that you get from people. Like I never really thought about it till I was at a friend of mine's house, and he's a big Batman collector. And I had just as a doodle one day drawn like a silly Batman kind of cartoon, really just to make him laugh more than anything. And I was at his house a couple weeks ago. We were watching a movie, and I noticed that he had put it up on his wall. He had saved it, and and it was really like on the back of a. Like a fax or something. Like it was not a professional drawing of any sort, but yeah, it really just made me think like, yeah, that's the stuff that you really like. That's the stuff you want to keep. Yeah. Like we talked a little bit. We've talked before about don't video everything. Don't take pictures of everything. Take a couple pictures so you have so you have a
reference
record
point for it. But
like that kind of stuff, like somebody makes you something, somebody does something like that for you. Yeah, that's the stuff that you want to hang on to.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Cool. Well, I think we have arrived at the end of
our
podcast number one.
Number one in the books.
Number one in the books. I am proud to have done this, to have accomplished
this.
Yes,
absolutely.
For us, it seems like week number one, but this is actually 7 weeks in a row.
Yes.
There really is value in committing to something, showing up and doing it. And,
correct. Yeah.
At this point, I'm going to commit to a year of this.
Yeah.
That's we will, and if we are up to 4 or 5 listeners in one calendar year, we will consider this a success,
a huge victory. Yes.
Success. So once again, I'm JW.
I'm Karl,
and this has been the Movie Brewdio Podcast, episode number 1.